just tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
So I'm Timothy So. I born in Hong Kong, and then I complete my bachelor degree in psychology in Hong Kong, Chinese University of Hong Kong, and then I start my master in work psychology and business. So that's probably my first experience come across how to apply psychology into work context. But at that time, positive psychology is still a very young or premature stage, which not university really talk about that. And then I met Alex Linney, who is probably your next interviewee in your project, and he run CAP, Center for Applied Positive Psychology in UK, and have a kind of a lecture in my university. So then that's my first time really know what positive psychology about and how it can apply to different contexts. Then I joined a consulting firm for one and a half years. So start to appoint some of my previous knowledge in consulting or partially coaching. And then I do my next degree in positive psychology core research, which is mental well-being and or how to operationalize or define, measure psychological well-being, or we call it flourishing, and which I'm doing actually my PhD in Cambridge University. So that is my core research or core knowledge about how I develop my positive psychology skill or knowledge from that. And then I was trained by Mele Campbell, a coaching company in UK, who train like each year 30 leading coaches in this country or country around European, and they taught mainly non-directive coaching. So and also others different technique and skills on coaching. And because of my positive psychology background, so I mainly integrate what I learned from research into practice. So I think this is kind of a brief introduction about how I connect both, positive psychology and practical coaching together.
Yeah. So did you start with positive psychology and then you went into coaching, or did you start with coaching and then?
I would say both. They happen at the same time.
Okay.
So it is a very interesting experience. It's like when I start my PhD in Cambridge, because my supervisor, Professor Felicia Harper, who is specialized in mindfulness, well-being research, she's a good friend of Cal Kaufman. And at that time, she was having a master class for Mele Campbell 2-3 years ago, and then she do positive psychology coaching. That's her field. So I start collaborate research with her and start discussing about how to apply positive psychology in coaching. So I would say actually I start from the research background. Then I joined Mele Campbell because I helped them to conduct some research about the psychology perspective of career transition. And present it to different coaches in UK, and then I attend their coaching training program.
Yeah.
So I would say, firstly research based, then I probably spend only my 20% of my time doing real coaching to my clients.
Right. Okay. And have you got other training in coaching or positive psychology since then?
If you talk about the official training, I think Mele Campbell is the core, because it's kind of a 1-year business coaching program. So they appoint like an Oxbridge tutorial section. So you are going to assign a mentor, a tutor, who is definitely leading coach here, and it worked like a syndicate group format. And then I was trained by 2 other very experienced practitioners who has, in the coaching community like more than 30 years.
Right.
So I basically learned from my peer and the tutorial, and then we have to submit those assignments, everything. Like it's a very systematic approach to really offer, because, coaching is a very abstract, intangible skill. But what I really like is they offer a systematic and sort of tangible, visualize everything, knowledge, theory, different approach, so you can pick up one which you really believe and really can, you know, upon it the best to your clients.
Right.
Right.
So for how long would you say you've been doing positive psychology coaching? When does this start?
I start my research and training in positive psychology since 2005, 2006, 2005, and positive psychology coaching probably like 2 or 3 years ago when because my background is a little bit interesting, because I believe a lot of coach, they learn coaching skill, they learn coaching before positive psychology coaching. And I learned positive psychology first, and then I study coaching, research, and attend courses. So basically, I integrate positive psychology into my coaching in the very first beginning.
Right.
When I in my career path.
Yeah. And when you say integrate, can you say some more about that?
So if you look at like coaching handbook, like with Moore or other leading coach who offer coaching guidance, procedure, or techniques, for example, like GOW model, GROW, and they won't have they won't say anything about positive psychology, nothing about, say, strength or hope, optimism, you know, this kind of construct which under positive psychology umbrella usually would be neglected in the traditional coaching handbook. But actually the nature of coaching actually is in the same line with the concept of positive psychology. For example, like to investigate or understand human strength, like to shifting the curve from 0 to 5 instead of -5 to 0. That's what coaching is doing, because it's not counseling. We are not purely solving problem. We also facilitate our clients to achieve their needs, achieve their goal. And I think maybe in a traditional coaching handbook, they may not necessarily use the particular positive psychology term, but actually they have some existing knowledge, which is quite similar.
Yeah.
And what I do is actually unpack them, and there's plenty, during the last 10 years, plenty of the research on positive psychology in terms of positive emotion, like Borden and Brown theory, and how positive emotions can enhance your creativity, innovation, resilience, etc. And we note how good on the feel good thing exercise, you know, express your gratitude, thinking what the best thing happen in your daily life. And we know, you know, the role of resilience, how it's important in the difficulty challenge, and we know the mechanism how to enhance your resilience by your daily practice, etc. So this kind of information, usually which clients find it very fascinating. So and there's no kind of they never learn about it from since they're high school, undergraduate. It's not taught by Harvard MBA, and in their so-called HR division offer the training in-house won't have such kind of context or concept to them. So maybe they learn something about stress management, but you know, positive psychology is talking something more beyond that.
Yeah.
So this is how I see actually the tool or assessment developed in the positive psychology setting, like Chris Peterson and Marty Seligman developed the 24 VIA value in actual strength, and they like to know that. So instead of receiving challenge or asking, you know, what is my weakness, how can I overcome my weakness, it's also good that for them to understand their strength and how to uphold their strength in a innovative or sustainable way daily. So identify their signature strength and using them. So I'm not selling or like pushing them that you have to do this, but actually we are offering an alternative approach, a new picture, which they may have already thought about that. Definitely everyone learned about optimism. They know what is it. they know strength. So the term of strength is not something really new, but the systematic way, like Alex Linney offered the realized tools, strength founders from Gallup, or Peterson and Siglerman offer the VS tools. This kind of good assessment can, I think, in some hands, to facilitate the coaching process and offer more thoughtful information to clients.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll get back to the assessments in a few questions.
Sure.
About your job, how can you describe your job in general, just shortly?
Right. So I based in Cambridge. So doing research is my main task of my career, my job, and then I learned and investigate some new interesting research question in positive psychology. So basically, I do 3 type of research. So one is I would like 40%. I say like 40% is about core mental well-being. So what well-being, mental health really is, what is the components, what kind of angle. So for example, traditionally people use happiness, life satisfaction as a single measure of how good you really are. Then I would suggest to use positive functioning as well, positive attribute, what kind of psychological characters do you have. And I found this kind of the core research can help dramatically in the coaching practice, because I may understand more or understand better what client really refer to when they said they are pissed off at workplace, they are depressed, or what good life they really refer to. And the second bit of research is how to apply the core well-being study in a practical way. So mainly is business sectors and educational sectors. So what employee really need, what is the relationship between positive mental health and their performance, commitment, job satisfaction, etc. And then lastly is how to apply it in coaching. So I started from research-wise context, so which mean can allow me come across the first-hand new knowledge from research journal. But the limitation is because those journals are only circulate within academia.
Yeah.
So the second part of what I'm interested in doing, or what I'm actually doing, is to testify or to really upon this kind of knowledge into coaching practice. At the meanwhile, to learn from my clients how positive psychology can help or what cannot help.
Yeah.
What have to be enhanced or increase the certain kind of knowledge in that particular area. So so I see kind of a circle, like I learn from research, I apply it, and then and my main client actually is referred by Medicampo. For example, like since 2008, they collaborate with Cambridge University Judge Business School, which is my home, where I work, and have kind of the joint program with the EMBA students. So they will assign some coaches to them, and during the EMBA training, they will have like coaching exercise once per month. So they are my core client in UK. Right. So in Asia, so I usually spend like 3 months back to China or Hong Kong each year. And for example, like last year, I run a project called Chinese Leaders CEO, Chinese CEO Wellbeing. So I interview them exactly like what you are doing. So, but I focus on how make you become a flourishing and successful person. So no doubt they are successful in terms of different kind of indicators, their status, etc. But the first question is, are you flourish? So I ask them to complete a well-being questionnaire, do an interview, learn about what make them their characteristic, social factors, how it would influence their well-being or flourishing, and how it can make an impact on their career, social life, or personal life. So this kind of study, I think, is kind of a groundbreaking, which I would say 99% of the coaching contests are happening in the West.
Yeah.
In Asia, particularly in China or Japan, we even don't have a proper translation on how coaching or executive coaching really is.
Right.
But throughout this kind of exercise, so not only adding value in positive psychology field, but also coaching. So what this kind of executive really need,
Yeah.
and what they would see their executive committee or middle manager needs. So because like the GDP or economics is growing dramatically in China, but those human capital, mental health, organizational behavior, knowledge, I would say is in a premature stage right now. So another, my core work is about cross-cultural studies between the West and the East, and the different how we theoretically or conceptually capture the idea and how we apply it practically to the coaching context.
Right. And you mentioned your main clients. Can you say again? So who do you typically coach?
In Asia context, so mainly I would say 80% Asia clients. So they are middle manager, and so I will be in touch of two group of people. So top CEO and executive leader, but I definitely won't say I coach them. I just snatch an opportunity to talk with them, to understand their needs and understand their thought. At the same time, explain them what positive psychology coaching really is.
Right.
Because some of them would be very interested about that. So, for example, one leading investment bank company in China. So I talked to their CEO first, and he's interested in. So he asked some of his subordinates to be my coachee, to really see what can they benefit from the whole coaching section or approach. And in UK, because that's back to once I really learned about coaching, and because to accomplish the whole program, I did have some practical clients, and some of them would be like Chinese professional who working in professional service firm in UK. So for example, most of them are from the professional service firm context. So law firm, iBank, accounting.
Right.
So I think it's because the chemistry match much better. We are from a same background, so from Asia come to Europe. And before I start my PhD in Cambridge in positive psychology, actually I have already did my first year PhD in business school in London.
All right.
So I study leadership in professional service firm.
Yeah.
So I understand the context factor. So at that time I have to run some qualitative research focus group to learn what kind of, say, the conflict, the context, the working structure, team structure within those professional service firms. So I think although we always said like coaching can you not necessarily need to work for the healthcare service to coach a healthcare professional, but I always believe a certain amount of understanding of what your client is doing is quite beneficial for the whole progress. So because a quite diverse background, so I target my client in a very particular area. But I have to confess that I think unlike the rest of the interviewees that you are going to interview or you have been interviewed, I don't think coaching itself is my core job context. So I spend most of my time doing research, and basically apply it in the organizational level or education. So for example, to evaluate their intervention, to offer intervention how to enhance resilience or optimism, etc. Instead of a one-to-one level. I do that, I enjoy it, but that's not my hardcore work.
When you do that, when you do the one-to-one, what types of issues do people typically present to you?
Career transition is a big topic. So either within or the organization, or even promotion. So when people change their position or work environment, they would particularly curious would like to know about what's the next step of them. So what's happened next? What should I prepare? Or how should I dealing with the new environment, new colleague, etc. Can I handle the job well? So I would say changing is one of the key topic. Another one I would say is time management. So, but that particularly apply on those not that senior client. So I've like 2-3 clients who were assigned from the Shanghai or Beijing office to London office, and they are like early 30, never failed in their life, did great in their academic life, promote fast, but they usually have kind of common style that they take a lot. They are high achiever, result oriented, but because they can handle things so well, they don't know how to manage their time.
Right.
And so-called the work-life balance or prioritize stuff. I'm not an expert on this. I know not much about time management, but upon the non-directive approach, coaching approach, or using some positive psychology tools, for example, the strength tools, what I've mentioned, or the resilience mechanism, that there's different scholar to study about resilience and how we can enhance it. It can be very helpful for themselves, come up with a solution for them. So I usually see that quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different topics, career transition, time management, and I always believe we can't be an expert for each field. But once we appoint the right technique and skill, we can help them to come up a very good solution because they understand their situation the best.
Yeah.
So instead of like telling them what to do, like, okay, I'm a positive psychologist. I did my degree in Cambridge. This is my research I'm going to offer you. Like these 10 papers I come up. So you have to read it and you will see what to do. So we are not telling them, but just inspire them to think from an alternative way, from a positive psychology, evidence-based angle. We let them know, according to research, the pattern is like this. Does it make sense to you? So that part is, when I come across different topics. So of course I can list you like 10 different ones, but the technique are still quite similar.
So can you give me an example? It sounds like that you present the research and then you say, does it make sense to you?
No, this is if they want to know more.
Right.
So
what could be an example?
Yes. For example, like one of my client who transit from one of the big four accounting to iBank, and also with a promotion. And she, if you talk to her or you meet her in a conference or business meeting, you will say she is a highly confident person, but she's not. So she worry a lot, and she never know how to say no. So she always try to keep a very positive, healthy relationship, instead of what she said is have a stand, have a say. But that's what she really want to do, and she leads some of her kind of role model or people who she admire in her workplace, and they are very dominant, strong oriented person. That there's so many different approach that you can help her. You can offer some kind of technique, or you can offer some of the personality or characteristic knowledge. Analyze different people personality, help her understand herself, and you can let her know, okay, according to my observation, etc. What positive psychology can help is, before the session, I ask her to complete the strength questionnaire, and she may not necessarily agree the result, and then I go through it with her, so to ask her about the real examples, the situation at work. So once go through it process, she identified who she are by herself, and then I asked her some question. For example, that so once you realize who you are or enhance your self-awareness, would you change your what you are looking for? Are you still believe you should go to be that kind of person, or actually you can appoint your strength according to the result or what you tell me to achieve what you would like to do in a different way? So this is, I think, is a kind of an example. My theory, or what I believe, is not telling them the factual thing, not telling them what I learned from a textbook, but just help them to experience it by themselves.
Right. Okay. So you've been talking about assessments. Are there any assessments in particular that you use the most?
Quite a few, like traditionally MBTI, those different kind of assessment. But because I develop measure myself so usually my self-interest would, if they are happy, then I would ask them to complete some like flourishing measure, engagement measure, etc. So I think it's kind of win-win. So I believe on these tools, and then I can let them understand, at least their self-subjective rate about themselves. But to be honest, I seldom over the judgment. So I will explain a bit. It depend on the norm, or different context would influence the result. But I just want them, through completing this assessment, they know about those terms,
right.
or those phrases that I'm referred to, and it's quite surprisingly that in the Chinese context, those Chinese clients are very open-minded. So in the very beginnings, like back to 2 years ago, I always thought that it's too Western, or why would they do something that they never heard about that. But I think it's in the opposite phenomenon. So they are more open-minded and more curious than people in UK.
Yeah.
Like because it's very new, and they are actually suffering. So no matter how high salary they are having, or their position, every of them have different stress driver, different problem. Even that I was not doing coaching to those CEO, but according to their sharing, it is quite surprising that it's not what we observe from the television, that they're standing there smiling, so and they are bothered by different things.
Right.
And I personally believe not only positive psychology, I think social science, like those research we conduct in academia, are really missing something. So we miss the step how to bridging, how to presenting those knowledge we develop in the academia environment, and to let them know the first-hand research and wisdom. So that's one of my life vision, to be honest. So I try to do that, and I enjoy it very much. So it's hard because you have to balance the research and practice. But I think like say psychology, I think the most successful practice probably is clinical psychology, counseling, that we are really helping those people with mental illness or facing serious problem, trauma, and we did offer some good practice to them, helping them. But in the context on like normal population or people like here in HSBC, in this context, they are, you know, functioning very well, they have a good job, but they want to improve, or they still have something would like to overcome or transform, etc. And I think this part of the knowledge can really help.
You mentioned before that the assessments is a way of introducing the concepts.
Partially.
So you can say some more about that?
Right. So in the layman context, actually they know about the concept we are referring to. Some of them just lack of the vocabulary. So or they even may misunderstand some of the contract we are referring. They heard about that. It's quite surprising they know what flow is, but maybe what they interpret is slightly different.
Right.
With the, you know, story, different concept. And I am not saying that we have to convince them to say, okay, 3 good thing exercise is this, step 1, 2, 3. Okay, if you at step 4 there, then you are wrong. No, we are only using the principle, but at least we are sharing. So we are talking at the same platform.
Yeah.
I have a quite interesting conversation with one of my close mentor, who is from McKinsey, and we are from the same syndicate group, and we are discussing how we address or amend the concept of positive psychology, which can be more beneficial to our clients. So for example, like 3 good thing exercise, the language may not right to them, to the business people. Why? Giving, it is not in iBank. Why not for lawyers, but in those, say, strength assessment or those the well-being questionnaire. Once they complete that, then I can introduce those concepts and let them know how it's relevant to you. And for example, like okay, physical exercise. You don't need to introduce the term. Everyone know what you are talking about. But even like resilience, you and me know so well about it, but may not be them. So they maybe heard about this. Even some of them lack of the vocabulary, they don't know this. But everyone would like to learn about this technique, or you regard it as a technique or personality or, you know, trait, etc. So because this what organization or business setting people from this context are facing, so the financial crisis, the, you know, challenging, stressful environment, they would like to know more about that, and they have to figure out what's the best way to them. So for example, research may offer a meta-analysis telling you that the effect side of the positive intervention, but actually each individual may have their own preference on what kind of practice, what kind of approach. So that's why coaching adding value is we can run a seminar and teaching you everything we find, but through the better understand yourself, your self-awareness, or how I know you better, then we can come up something that suitable to you most.
Right, yeah, to a single person.
Yes. It's a very people-oriented, first of all, and I believe it's a mistake that if we just offer whatever we know to our clients. So it requires a lot of what's that term? Variety. So same thing, same concept, but we have to play with their language, etc.
So do you adapt what you do to single people, single clients, or do you do it the same way every time?
Very different way.
Very different
way. But it's a hard question. I'm reflecting, different scenario that I'm having. That is certain thing should be the same, must be the same, like the principle or the scientific bit, or what I believe is right according to research or etc. I think the different part is how they can really benefit it. So they are from different environment, facing different problem, and also because, for example, like MBTI, once you upon that, their type. Although I'm not a 100% fan of it, but at least they have very different personality. They believe different things. So, for example, like people working for law firm, and one who is working for he is a graphic designer for the advertising company. Completely different mindset. One is very innovative. He can shift the topic from A to F suddenly.
Yeah.
And one is very serious, step by step, etc. I think understand people style is crucial before answering the question that are you really change what you are saying, or have a different version, different thing. I would say no. What I learned is this is positive psychology, the science is it, but how I present, or what bit of information which most valuable, relevant to the clients is the very different individually.
What about the positive interventions? Do you use specific positive interventions?
Not too much. My understanding or my knowledge of positive intervention is very limited in research-wise. So I know what are they, and then I know how good they are, but I won't say I really know how can uprising them or appoint them to my client. And in my coaching section, I quite seldom to do the exercise with my client. So I'm a quite keen believer of the goal approach. So we set goal, we talk about the reality, we talk about opportunities that they are facing, and we talk about what will you do, or the willingness you will take real action. I personally can't see a part which can, for the whole like 1.5 hour, 2 hour session, can appoint a positive intervention or positive exercise to them. But I will let them know that what I would recommend them to follow up. So I will send some information reading to them. For I don't know what they would really read about that afterward. But I would recommend that you can try between the section. Actually, you're asking a very good question. Maybe I can think a more systematic way to appoint this intervention, introduce to them, and between each coaching session to ask them to practice it or appoint it. But I didn't do that before, so very difficult to answer this question.
Right. And so you ask people to read something in between sessions. Are there any other ways that you share the knowledge that you have of positive psychology with them?
Practice. I have an organization based in Greater China, so which is called Global Chinese Positive Psychology Association. which with huge gratitude, I have like Martin Seligman, Chris Peterson, Felicia Harper, those leading figures as an advisory board. So we would regularly have some seminar or events in, say, Shanghai, Beijing, or Hong Kong, and I usually would invite them to attend such kind of seminar or workshop. And this kind of seminar and workshop is particularly designed to different professionals. So, okay, two different professionals. One is education context, one is business HR context. So because most of my clients are from the business background, so they will attend those kind of a seminar thing. I think this is a very good thing, because those speakers that we is not presenting by myself. Those speakers are real scholar or practitioner in the field. So I believe in some sense that far more better than what I'm telling them.
Right.
Because myself is very limited in, say, particular field within the positive psychology area. So I think this is one thing. And then the second thing is, as you said, is like I was sending them some materials. For example, like it's a very my habit or my approach is I would look for some relevant material from those reading they are familiar. So for example, like there's some leading figure like Lubomirsky, Martin Seligman. They publish stuff in New York Times, Fortune, Forbes, etc. And this kind of magazine or reading belong to them.
Yeah.
I won't send them a research paper, but that can I think the effect is very good. The consequence is very good. That they think, okay, this is what my peers would also read that. So if it appear on this kind of journal, it must be good. Like Harvard Business Review. So for example, like talk about the social responsibility and there's one article talk about your personal engagement or the vision, the meaning. That is what positive psychology was discovered, but it appoints already by other scholar on the business context, and they would be most interested on this kind of reading. Instead of I send them a paper from psychological science and said, okay, this is the meta-analysis or experiment they do. So this is a control group and experiment group. So very different mindset and very different technique. So reading is one thing. Seminar is the second. I would like to try more event or activities in China, like through my association. So this brainstorming approach. Another thing that we are doing is quite similar to what you do, is video typing some presentation or some dialogue between science and practitioners. So we are trying to arrange a multi-disciplinary visit to China next year. So instead of a pure academic conference, I want to have a kind of a one-day event, have some sub-forum. So positive psychology and workplace, positive psychology and policy, public policy, policy psychology and health, etc. So video type such kind of dialogue, such kind of presentation would be one of the alternative.
Right.
Like, have you heard about the Khan Academy?
No.
Like there's MIT graduate who used to be a hedge fund, working for hedge fund, just quit his job 2 years ago, and he come across like 2,500 YouTube video clips. So using a software teaching different knowledge and upload it to YouTube.
Yeah.
Then people around the world who can access internet can learn it for free. And
that's a great idea.
Believe the science of well-being should do the same.
Yeah.
Because we know the intervention in some sense is at least is more cost effectively compared with prevention or treatment.
Yeah.
People who has been diagnosed having depression, anxiety, those common mental disorder, may cost a lot, you know, to offer the treatment by CP, by counselor. But if we can promote this kind of the scientific evidence on well-being, not only on coaching practice, but also, you know, kind of through the media, more public can learn about it. And in the end, it's help coaching as well. People know more about the language, they would have a similar mindset on that. Yeah, because the best thing is it's not a religion, or it's not just a belief. Everything is scientific proof. Right. So I think the advantage is more convincing in the first hand, but the second hand is like the opposite side is like it can be quite boring to present the data. So how we can stand for the scientific evidence, but present it in a more appropriate way to general public, I think it's quite crucial when you ask the question like how to, you know, promote or how to deliver those kind of positive psychology knowledge in a wider context.
What do you do of other things that you have not mentioned yet to make your coaching effective?
Of course, because the topic is focused on positive psychology, we certainly miss, you know, a couple of very important skills which traditionally we have already learned from the coaching handbook, like active listening or stuff. In some sense, I think they are quite those probably is the soft skill. I would say is like active listening, like and my situation is slightly interesting because I usually most of my clients are older than me, so that's one of the technique which I often use, but it's also what I really believe is I'm also a learner.
Right.
So I would position myself like instead of like offering the advice to them or pretending to become an expert, I usually, and in the reality actually I learn from them as well, and usually I would create this atmosphere authentically, and I think it's kind of a really helpful mindset to remind myself that like the respect, the trust, how much I really listen what they said. So this kind of the soft skill or very intangible sense of mindset when I coach others.
And do you do something to make like establish credibility in you or positive psychology?
What do you mean by?
So to make them believe that what you're saying is true, or that it's research based, or do you do or say anything special?
Nope. They know me before, so we have a chemistry meeting. So because I have a very limited time devoted in coaching, so I want to spend time with the right people that I feel I can contribute or add value most significantly. So it's quite selective, and the chemistry meeting usually we understand each other quite well, and because my core professional is not a coach, I'm a researcher in the field of positive psychology, so that's who I am, and I won't particularly mention that, you know, I did this, I did that, and because my core research is positive psychology, and there's a couple of my great mentors like Martin Seligman, like Kel Kaufman. So one is the leading figure of positive psychology, and Kel Kaufman is doing really well in coaching, who I respect very much. So many of my project actually is collaborate with her or under her guidance, etc. So I think this what keeping me on the right track, and how my client would like if they are interested in positive psychology in the first hand. Actually, they are quite comfortable to you know, believe that the information that I offer.
Right. And what do you do to establish a good relationship with the client? Is that the chemistry meeting or?
Chemistry meeting basically is try to understand each other, and the relationship. I mentioned it once. One of the key component on the atmosphere in the coaching session is learner perspective. So I tried to, because I was so worried when I start doing coaching in the coaching business program offered by Miller Campbell. I would say the average age probably is like 45, 50, and I'm literally and obviously the youngest. And I always think like age or experience is a challenge. Luckily enough, my mentors or the Miller Campbell committee think you just think another way around. So how can you use the skill or the advantage of my generation, like technology, more passionate, more vitality, and when I come up myself, I believe it's kind of my authentic personality. My nature is I'm very hungry to learn.
Yeah.
So people from different backgrounds. So in the chemistry meeting, once I start a conversation, and I'm very interested in person, in people, and so the dynamic is not just I'm a coach and I let you know what I know from a positive psychology. I like 60-70% is what they tell me.
Right.
They're telling me something about themselves, and I'm real interested in that.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the, I would say, the best way that I found to have a good relationship with my client, and because I didn't handle so many different clients at the same time, so I can devote more time and energy during the follow-up. And I really have a good memory, so I remember them that stuff well.
Right.
So I think that's also count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you make sure that your clients stay engaged between sessions when you see them, and then they work on their problems or challenges between sessions?
Depends. That's usually two kind of goal of coaching. So some of them are very specific. So for example, I can't get along with my colleagues, but he or she is very skillful. Actually, some of my job depends on her. So this is the goal, right? So the next session is very easy to follow up, very straightforward. Improve or not, or actually she has been fired, or you find a way to. So this is okay, I think perfectly fine. So we just need to be ensure that in the end of each session, we have kind of a shared agreement that what action the client are going to take, and then before the next session, in the beginning of the next session, then we follow it up. Some of them is more subjective rate. So for example, enhance confidence, or so more about they would like to enhance or improve some particular part of their, say, personality, or time management, etc., which is very difficult to say, like, oh, so you can complete 2 more tasks than last month. So first 10 or even sometimes 15 minutes is the reflection of the clients. So they let me know what has been going on. And even that part, I use positive psychology techniques. So we call it, I learned from Carol, like positive introduction. So tell me 2-3 things that you you would like to say most? What exciting best thing happened since last month?
Yeah.
We start up with that. It is something I believe also respond your previous question, how to have a good relationship. We start up with a very, very positive atmosphere, because most of the time we are focused on the problem they are facing. But our mindset probably is occupied by problem solving, problem oriented. Literally 90% of her life or his life is going very well. She can easily tell me that 3 achievement, like then recall something, their achievement, like, you know, most of the clients are really, really high achiever, so they can easily tell us some exciting thing. So and this also allowed them to reflect the problem that they would like to examine, or, you know, the goal for the next session more objectively or without bias. So not only focus on, you know, okay, is the situation is very bad, nothing improved since then. But sometimes it is quite dramatic that once they tell you the positive introduction, they think, no, actually I was making some progress, but maybe it's not what I'm expecting, it's not the goal, but indeed it's not, you know, completely waste of time or completely hopeless during the last month. This is something I treasure quite a lot. Yeah.
And what do your clients say about the way that you work with them?
You say what or how?
Yeah, well, what's that feedback? What do they say?
I can't generate something, you know, consistent. It really depends. Each of them have different like. To be honest, none of them would particularly discuss positive psychology with you. They are not interested. They are just interested how it can help them.
Yeah.
So very difficult to answer this question, because some of them are cheerful because, for example, like using the same example, the one who transit from auditing to iBank, so she, you know, get along with her new colleagues, you know, the new environment pretty well, then I receive good feedback is very, very, very helpful. Some of them it takes times, and for example, like it's also depend your client how much effort that they really devote on it. Somehow I think it's like, you know, pick up a new language. So you have a 3 hours tutorial, but it also depends on how much time you really, you know, pay effort on that. So hard to say.
Right. And how do you find out whether or not they're progressing?
We have like free document they will receive right after the session, and 2 document they have to return to me right away. So first one is the feedback form, which evaluating the session. Second one is the agreement form, what kind of, you know, thing or activities you are going to try, you know, until the next session. So in terms of how to evaluate, is it your question, how to see the coaching session effectiveness? I think the first form is crucial to the feedback. Let me explain a little bit further, because I try to appoint those measurement, you know, those scientific research work I have been spending my time effort on upon to this coaching practice. So we know placebo effect. So if you attend a leadership development, no, even if you attend a stress management session, you think you're learning something new, innovative, you spending like 2 days on that session. If afterward I give you a kind of a leadership development evaluation questionnaire, they may have a chance that your leadership skill also enhance.
Yeah, yeah.
Even that is nothing to do
Yeah.
with that. Just you believe that, okay, I'm enhancing my, say, human capital or organizational behavior related skill, etc. So in the feedback form, there's two sessions of question. One is about the feeling of the particular section. So that is the, you know, the how much they're satisfied or, you know, they enjoy about the 1 or 2 hour session.
Yeah.
Another part is how much is really target on the goal.
Right.
So one is about their personal feeling, personal emotion. Yeah. Another one is very result oriented. So if you just generate them, and I also have sometimes I verbally ask that the third question is about the meaning or, you know, what is the takeaway from that. So they elaborate more. Yeah. But they have to write me something about it. So I know. So it is quite interesting that it's not necessarily highly correlated. Some of them, they like you as a person. They enjoy talking to you. But then we come up that actually the goal for that session may not be comprehensively cover or, you know, may not allow them to know what exactly they have a takeaway, you know, after the session.
Yeah.
So I think we have to consider both.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at what time is that after the session or at the end of the session you give them?
At the end of the session. So right after this interview, then if you are a client, then I will give you a form.
And I will fill it out before I left the room?
Right away. Yes.
Right.
Because sometimes if you send them an email, they will no bother.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure. And then the agree form as well. Because it really helpful. Like it is a quick reflection, like when they finish the coding session, 1.5 hours. Instead of, okay, now I'm telling you what you are going to do. Okay, as far as I have seen, like you said that you will do B. But I just let them to let me know, not only verbally, they written it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so usually have like 3 or 4. So the goal that we address, what kind of the opportunity or challenge, and what is the, you know, next actions we are going to take until the next session. Yeah. So this is something in the chemistry meeting or in the introduction section, I have already let them know. Right. And I explain why. Right. I think it's not only for me for a record, it's also for your own good. Yeah. Like you know precisely what has been covered and what you will do. And then another part is also for their own good, is because they'll feedback how much they enjoy the section, like how relevant or how useful to cover or affiliate the goal that they set. Actually is make sure we can improve, or we are on the right track during the whole 5-6 session of the coaching. Right. So this
and what do you do the next time? So they come back the next time. You ask them about what has gone well since last time. Or
we will go through
the agreement form.
Yes.
How do you go through it? Just briefly.
It is quite straightforward. So first of all, it is a very subjective question. So positive introduction, catching up, you know, telling some update. Then I will ask them directly. I found that one skill is really useful. So from 0 to 10, how much you think, you know, you complete or execute what you plan to do.
Right.
And and usually the quite dramatical cutoff is like 7 to 8. So is it about 8, then the consequence are usually quite good. They really pay effort on it. Someone say like, oh, only 5, etc. And then yeah, it's not much thing change, etc. So I like this kind of quantitative question
Right.
quite often. So for example, when we finishing the goal section, when we say the W, what will you do? And then I will ask how much you actually willing to do this, and it can be a quite good predictor how much they can achieve when they be back.
Yeah.
So if they say okay, like 5, 6 on, then sometime I even would ask them to think another action which they will score like 7, 8. That I really want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I remember when like Carol or other mentor from Mary Campbell who offered me training, offer coach to me. I would know that I it's very different that how much I desire to achieve that goal. Then there's a mismatch with how much I really can add real action for that. So that's a mismatch. So I particularly enjoy and find it important to spend a little bit more time to try to go through this, because turn out it is about how significant of the result.
Yeah.
Instead of how much they enjoy the coaching progress.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
It does. It makes sense. And when it does work out for them, what's your guess? What's the mechanisms that makes things work for their clients?
Wow.
Oh, the major mechanisms then, the most important ones.
It is a research paper. It's a good thesis. I really don't know. It's a good question. I'm thinking. I didn't think about this before. Like I never tried to analyze like, okay, you must be lazy or what is the rationale behind. Because I am a very harsh person for myself. So if things didn't go perfect, I would criticize myself. So I never think, what is the whole mechanism, what was the client's perspective, why she can achieve it or he can achieve it or not. I think it depends couple of different perspectives. So first of all, I think goal setting theory play a role here. So how much you actually realize the problem and the problem is relevant to you. So one of my client actually is, as I mentioned, is not have a very low the motivation to attend the coach. It's just because like the CEO asked them to do so.
Right.
So then 2 of the middle manager come from that company. He's a brilliant guy, very fast, very quick, and he particularly good at predicting what you are going to say.
Right.
Yeah, and he offer those action plan, which 99% make perfect sense, but turn out the progress is very slow. It's because like the goal that we identity is crucial, is important to him. Let me phrase this in a better way. It's like, right, the goal that we set up is if he can achieve it, it make dramatically changes positively in his career development. But he may not really care about it.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's quite complicated because bear in mind that the session would be in Chinese, so I'm doing the immediate translation at the same time. So I think one is the motivation.
Yeah.
But of course, I believe it's also our responsibility to identify a right goal.
Yeah.
So if that is, yes, it's important, but maybe he's not that motivated, maybe there's another goal, at least for that session or more. But somehow it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not experienced enough. It's like, particularly if like your company or the organizer assign you to do so, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult. So I think this is one thing. And then second thing is, I'm quite lucky, like 90%. Most of them are making good progress. And I would see maybe they, in some sense, interest in the technique, or say have certain degree interest in positive psychology. They think it's helpful. So they may not know comprehensively about what it is, but at least they find it's kind of a less boring conversation, or something that can benefit them after the coaching session.
Yeah.
I mean the whole coaching 6 sessions. So afterward, they can still apply that knowledge, that technique, to their work, to their family, relationship, etc. So the second thing is, I would say, how much they believe in the coaching practice as a whole, as well as those techniques or the information that shared by you. And then the last time, the last one probably I would say is like, who is the center? So they are the star. They are stars. So they are the center.
Yeah.
Key actor. They dominate the conversation. They sharing what they want, what they need. So most importantly, they come up the solution by themselves. So it's not what I told you to do, or not I suggest. I even very seldom to ask tricky questions. So there's some question. Actually, you are questioning, but you are not questioning. You have already hypothesized the answer when you ask the question in a certain way. I try to ask very authentic questions.
Yeah.
They come up the conclusion themselves. That helps.
Yeah.
I remember when I just start learning coaching, I'm quite the like scholar. I questioning everything. Like I was like, oh no, non-directive coaching won't work. How can you not offering advice or telling people what to do, but they still trust you, or they still need you? And then when I just started, I used the non-directive approach because I have to.
Yeah.
And then when I ask the question, actually I have the answer in my mind, and I have already assumed plenty of stuff, and I ask something that let them shift to the answer that I decided. Look, see, you said that yourself, so you have to do this. Not right. The effect, the consequence, the effectiveness is not as ideal as they really open their mind and discuss things with you, and sometimes even I don't have to ask anything, and then they will say, aha, I think I should do something like this. Then I think the flow should go like it.
Yeah. And how do you keep yourself updated on positive psychology?
I'm on the field.
Yeah. And positive psychology coaching.
I do research with Carol. Like I'm affiliated with the Harvard Institute of Coaching. So I collaborate research for example, 2 core research that I'm working on is collaborate with Carol. One is about coaching effectiveness. So what is the measure? 3 question. What is the coaching outcome actually we are talking about? what was the variables, different things. And the second is how we should measure it, what kind of measure on it. And the last question is like, so there's so many different approach of coaching, so which one is most effective? So this is one of the research topic.
Yeah.
I'm spending time on that. And then another one is the CEO well-being one. So for everything is in Chinese context, we do translation, back translation, content analysis to analyze what those executive leaders really need, what enhance their well-being, what they think is important, and what they think well-being or those construct under positive psychology important to their organization. So this kind of first-hand research is, I would personally say, is the most important part.
Yeah.
But of course it's my background as a researcher, so I'm not saying that all the practitioners should do research themselves.
So other ways you keep updated, you talk to people, communicate with Carol. What else? What else do you do?
When you conduct research, you have to understand the most updated research publication. So I broadly read almost of them, like the International Journal of Coaching, different related academic journal, and I'm still actively participating in the medical coaching community. That because my coaching experience or practice is very limited from the positive psychology approach, which of course I find is extremely useful. But I also believe that we have to learn some other technique or experience from leading scholars. So for example, like each year in Harvard they have an international coaching conference. So I will attend it this October, and they have a international coaching research forum. So I have been attending that since 2009 in London, and last year in Berlin, next year in Hong Kong. So this I categorize coaching knowledge into two dimensions. So one is research oriented, one is very practical skill technique. I have to be honest that I spent probably like 80% on the first part, so the research context, and so it's very lucky that you are in the field, you are still working within academia, university to conduct research, which enhance my understanding.
And when you learn something new from research, how do you integrate it into the way that you do coaching?
This part should not let my clients hear that. It's somehow it's also a kind of experiment.
Right.
There's no principle or no handbook guiding you how to apply research in the practical world. I believe that once you broadly read the literature, once you broadly reviewed those existing empirical studies, what kind of approach, etc. Plus, beforehand, you also attend those training, like business coaching program. You get accredit you as a coach. Then the most straightforward that you ask yourself is what you can use by this piece of information, and particularly like I have the practice kinds before, like since 2 years ago, and that's really helpful when you have the first lively experience. You come across different topic that your clients share with you, then when you go through those literature, you review them, apart from the scientific conduct of research, making hypotheses, partially, on your mindset, you will think about which bit is, can practically applied
Yeah.
in your coaching. In medical community, the CEO and scholar just published a coaching handbook for Financial Times. So for example, like when I read through the book, the first question that I come up is, what research actually have been answering her question, and what are not. Then those what are not is in research context, I would spend out on it. But what probably can serve this problem or this challenge, then I will upon them to my clients to see, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Not 100% correct. Have to be very honest. So sometimes, even myself thought I say something very stupid, and I said, "Oh, sorry." So is this not a golden rule, but experimental way to do so.
Right. And one question that other coaches have wanted to find an answer to is, what do you think makes positive psychology coaching different from other types of coaching?
I have two quick response on this. First of all, I don't see they have a huge difference. I think the nature of coaching is to help your client who is not problematic or abnormal. So they have many different topics bringing to the conversation. Of course, most of them are problem solving. But I believe, the whole coaching nature share the agreement that client themselves can solve their problem. They have the ability, knowledge, skill to handle those problems themselves. So that's why they are not going to see counseling or clinical psychologists who they are helpless on those disorder, etc. Positive psychology fit particularly well on this, flow is like we are talking about that apart from studying mental illness or problematic group, we also talk about how to enhance people's potential, strength, study about meaning, engagement, etc. This is what coaching about. So this the first response I found they can integrate together very smoothly. So
right,
it's not we are announcing a new approach, a very groundbreaking technique that okay we have to do that. I think not this case. What is different? Two things. One is scientific. Another one is evidence based. So the theory and the technique, the approach is very sorted, not because I believe so, or not because according to my personal experience, which usually refer to my last client or my last 10 clients. It's talking about research, we study, control group, experimental group, we testify the effectiveness.
Yeah.
So, but of course, it's not a must. So even like a very well adapted positive intervention, we are talking about how the correlation to well-being or the norm, that is after you control off the statistic error, etc. How effective it can enhance your well-being or reduce depression. It's not saying that positive psychology can solve all of the problem, or every coach should appoint positive psychology only, but it offers a very solid and I would also sustainable developing the knowledge in that field, which can keep offering different insight and evidence to coaches and help them to maximize or adding value on their coaching service.
Yeah, yeah. Are there anything that we have not talked about that are important to the way that you work with positive psychology coaching? Things that I have not thought about asking you about, like important variables that I should have as part of my interview.
It's a very thoughtful set of questions, I would say. That's something, but I don't think it's a right context. They're too, theoretical and conceptual. So I think is you ask some very good questions. So how as a coach can learn or maintain the knowledge in the field. You ask good question on how we should deliver the knowledge, what is the approach, etc. I think at this stage, basically, these are the core questions. And what I would like to stress on, or I think is important, is how can we ensure the scientific way won't be twisted or won't be missed when we use coaching, because I think evidence-based coaching is very is a fascinating growing discipline or concept in coaching context, and I personally think positive psychology fit in very well. There's always a worry, particularly in the Chinese context. I would say. I think in UK or in American or in Europe, coaching established much faster and more systematic and healthily developing here. But in Asia, because the concept is very new, so that's about the cross-cultural issue. So when transfer the knowledge, how should we ensure the scientific bit is still here?
Right.
This one thing. Second thing is we have to consider the norm or the cultural issue. So a lot of the research is done by America. The measure is different in America. We know there's a cultural bias. We know that, for example, like people from Japan or people from Asia are more reserved than Latin American or some European country as well. So when we appoint those positive psychology assessment tools, or we appoint some interventions, we have to bear in mind the cultural differences.
Yeah.
And so this is a very broad topic, and also the individual differences.
Right.
So there's a lot more that how scientific research can add value on coaching theory and practice. And I believe it's kind of the collaborative effort between academic and researcher to make the I like the title you says positive psychology coaching more solidly and sustainably developed.
Right. And the last question is, what advice would you give to others if they were considering doing positive psychology coaching?
I'm too young to offer any advice. I will repeat what I said just now. I think that is it's not advice, it's my concern. Like scientific part, evidence-based, individual cultural differences, evaluation on coaching effectiveness. And there's also I think a huge room of the knowledge of wisdom is how to, as one of the questions asks, how to adapt or slightly modify the positive psychology principle or theory into different individuals. There's no guidance, no extensive knowledge about that, but it's like the field of medicine or psychiatric approach. Like we know that there's so many different technique or approach in theory is according to experiment or population research, so the result like this. But when we appoint to one-to-one diagnosis, contact, etc. So apart from the, let me use examples. So in the psychiatric field, we have DSM, ICD. We have a lot of different tools screening your likelihood to have common mental disorder, but it's also hugely depend on how the psychiatrist or clinical psychologist diagnose how your situation, your mental disorder situation or not. I think it's also applied in coaching, but of course we are not diagnosing, our client, but how we can transfer the knowledge from textbook or those manual into a more appropriate and useful way. I think that is the question we have to bear in mind.